Starring in a Marvel flick means more than just getting a nice big paycheck. It means becoming part of an institution and a cinematic world which has been built up for over a decade. It's no small undertaking, and Marvel Studios expects a lot from those who want to be part of their universe. You might be surprised by some of the rules even your favorite superhero is forced to follow behind the scenes. Are these restrictions just ways for the studio to protect the integrity of their films, or do they go too far over the line? It's no secret that movies like Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame cost hundreds of millions of dollars to produce. With that in mind, you know Marvel Studios and Disney don't want to take any chances when it comes to spoilers and leaks. Well, besides hiring notoriously loose-lipped actors like Mark Ruffalo and Tom Holland, it's no secret these two have revealed more than their fair share of spoilers, and they've also inspired some new rules regarding scripts. Mark Ruffalo plays the role of Bruce Banner, one of the original MCU Avengers, but this doesn't mean the directors trust him. Brothers Joe and Anthony Russo, better known as the Russo brothers, actually gave Mark a fake script for the movie Avengers Endgame. He ended up wondering about scenes which were never actually filmed and said he had to wait to see the movie in its entirety, just like everyone else. Tom Holland also had to make do with an edited Avengers Endgame script, which only included his lines and not much else. It was missing a ton of information about the scenes to minimize the chance Tom would spill the beans before the premiere. Tom, do you not know what a spoiler is? These fake scripts may seem overzealous, but let's not forget who we are talking about here. Tom Holland once spoiled Avengers Infinity War for a whole theater full of fans, and Mark Ruffalo let his phone streaming the first 15 minutes of Thor Ragnarok and dropped a major Infinity War spoiler in an interview. But they're not the only Marvel actors who've had their workflow changed due to security concerns. Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany claim Marvel actors are required to take part in filming scenes which aren't intended for the movie. Set photos from these scenes are often leaked to generate hype about the movie without actually revealing anything. That's right, an image that launches a million fan theories could be nothing more than the Russo brothers totally trolling us. Pretty sneaky, guys. Paul claims he would often show up on set unaware of which scenes they would actually be filming and which were intended to mislead. So maybe they're accidentally pranking themselves. There are also some special circumstances which lead to additional scripts. Everyone knows Vin Diesel got really good at saying "I am Groot" for his role in Guardians of the Galaxy. But did you know he still had a script? A script of translated Groot speak was created, and only Vin Diesel, director James Gunn, and Rocket voiceover actor Bradley Cooper had copies. Everyone else on set simply had to make their best guess about what Groot was saying. This may seem odd, but it goes to show sometimes ignorance is bliss. Following Avengers Infinity War, James Gunn revealed Groot's last word to Rocket had been "Dad." No, I'm not crying. You're crying. And as you can imagine, these security measures only got more intense depending on how highly anticipated a movie is. When it came time to film Infinity War, Elizabeth Olsen claims she and her castmates were gathered into a van and forced to turn off their phones. Okay, that sounds really creepy out of context, but it turns out Marvel Studios was just being careful. They didn't even tell Tom Holland he was going to be turning to dust until moments before shooting the scene. But considering this still didn't stop him from spoiling the end for people, we may be hearing about even stricter security measures in the future. Hey, at least Tom Holland is consistent. And speaking of consistency, the unique nature of the Marvel Cinematic Universe brings with it its own set of restrictions. You can't very well have Robert Downey Jr. portraying Tony Stark in the MCU and then showing up in a DC movie. Just imagine the confusion and the mass hysteria among comic book fans. Chris Hemsworth has stated that he and his co-stars are not allowed to portray DC heroes in these movies. But interestingly enough, Disney kind of broke their own rule on this one. They fired James Gunn, who directed Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, because of some controversial tweets from years ago. Yikes. After Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 seemed to be stuck in limbo because nobody else would touch the project, they rehired James back. The problem? He's already working on the second Suicide Squad movie, so he can't start the next Guardians until he's done with his work over at DC. These universe crossovers are getting confusing. Many of the rules Marvel actors have to follow are because of Disney's reputation as a family-friendly company. Cast members are expected to maintain a superhero code of conduct both on and off set. It simply wouldn't do well for Disney to have their superheroes getting into trouble in the real world. Actor Tom Von Lawler played Black Order member Ebony Maw in Avengers Infinity War and revealed an interesting part of the casting process. Apparently, background checks are the standard operating procedure when it comes to being a Marvel star. Luckily for him, Robert Downey Jr. was an integral member of the MCU before this policy was started. When RDJ signed on to play Iron Man, his career was in serious recovery after some arrests and struggles in his personal life. If it wasn't for the instance of Iron Man director Jon Favreau, we might have met a very different-looking Tony Stark. Not only are actors expected to follow the rules of polite society when they're not acting, they also have plenty of set rules to follow. Sheesh. One of these rules involves listening to the directors and relinquishing creative control. Many directors, including Thor Ragnarok director Taika Waititi, value input from the cast, but sometimes this can lead to, well, issues. Everyone knows Edward Norton starred in The Incredible Hulk, yet Mark Ruffalo took over the role for the Avengers. The rumor is that there were some creative differences between Edward Norton and Marvel Studios. Don't make Marvel angry. You wouldn't like Marvel when they're angry. Of course, naturally, superhero movies do contain some amount of violence. Somebody's gotta beat up the bad guy, right? The Avengers aren't known for their Superman ability to talk out their problems, though. Imagine what a nicer, albeit slightly boring place the MCU would be if they did. There is always going to be fighting in Marvel movies, but Disney flat out forbids certain depictions of battle. Let's just say you can safely head to the theater without worrying about seeing any beheadings in a Marvel movie. That's a pretty understandable rule, but Disney takes it a step further by forbidding smoking on screen as well. That's right, unless it's a depiction of an actual person who smoked in real life, you won't see any on-screen smoking. Hey, it's not quite decapitation, but smoking is really bad for your health, and the health of their actors is a high priority for Marvel Studios. Not only that, but certain actors are required to adhere to strict diet and exercise routines in order to stay in superhero shape. In order to get ready to play Carol Danvers in Captain Marvel, Brie Larson embarked on 9 months of intense physical training. Her workouts included elements of martial arts and boxing, which helped her with on-screen fighting. She claims she left filming completely black and blue, but proud of her physical performance. But don't think these types of workouts are the kind you're used to doing at the gym. Chris Evans confessed that when he first started training to be Captain America, he was shocked at how brutal his workouts became. Things got so bad while training that he would occasionally, well, lose his lunch halfway through. Yeah, it's probably for the best they leave that part out of superhero training montages. Actors including Chris Hemsworth and Robert Downey Jr. talked about the necessity of weight training when it comes to getting into fighting shape. But don't forget about more subtle workouts. Tom Holland claims that in addition to boxing and lifting weights, he also took gymnastics lessons to get ready to play the flexible character Spider-Man. Despite all of their training, there are some stunts deemed far too dangerous for these stars to even attempt. MCU actors claim Disney higher-ups decide which stunts can be performed by their actors and which should be left to the professionals. Serious injuries on set could translate to massive scheduling issues and delays. And time is money in the film industry. It's considered too much of a risk for the studio to take, and so they rely on professional stunt people for many tasks. However, there are always some stars that have to push this boundary, including Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth. They're always trying to get the studio to sign off on more stunts they can perform themselves. Tom Holland claimed he did as many of his own stunts as he could, but often found himself limited not by his ability, but by the contract he had signed. Because the Marvel Cinematic Universe ties so many movies together, signed on to do a single movie isn't usually an option. Instead, stars who sign on as superheroes are used to signing multi-movie contracts, committing them to appear in more than one movie. If you sign on for 7 Marvel movies, you're expected to show up in 7 movies, even if they're for nothing more than a cameo. Remember those hilarious Captain America PSAs from Spider-Man: Homecoming? Chris Evans had to show up on set just so his character could teach high school kids the importance of following the rules. Kind of ironic after what went down during Captain America: Civil War, but we know Marvel fans appreciate the irony. Not only do these actors have to show up on set whenever Marvel calls, but their jobs don't end there. Marvel Studios is great at a lot of things, and one of those is building anticipation for their movies. They have it down to a science at this point, and it involves tons of press tours and interviews. Starring in a Marvel movie is great, but that doesn't mean you get to relax until until it hits theaters. Celebs need to get out there and pound the pavement to talk up the latest Marvel movie blockbuster. They've been known to travel all over the world to spread the word that a new Marvel movie is getting ready to hit theaters. It seems like there's nothing they won't do to get the word out on their upcoming projects. We've even seen the Avengers play Family Feud on Jimmy Kimmel Live. These stars may be used to smiling for the camera, but they also need to model for merchandise. That's right, we all know it's impossible for a new Marvel movie to hit theaters without merchandise filling store shelves. This part of the superhero gig is non-negotiable, and stars need to accept that their likeness will be put on t-shirts and modeled onto action figures. Merchandise is a huge source of revenue, so participation from all MCU actors is absolutely mandatory. It's kind of hard to believe these actors can be humble after seeing their face on a t-shirt, right? Everyone knows that Marvel movies feature complex plot lines and characters from different movie franchises. This can get complicated, and as a result, reshoots are fairly common. And signing on to appear in the MCU means you need to show up to all reshoots ready to work. According to actor Idris Elba, this is far from his favorite part of the job. When he had to attend reshoots for the movie Thor: The Dark World, he described it as torture. Wow. Apparently, Idris was already working on Mandela: Long Walk to Freedom when he was asked to return for the Dark World reshoots. Playing a serious role and then having to revert back to being Heimdall was less than ideal, but Idris had no choice in the matter. Gotta stick to those contracts. He confessed that he didn't particularly enjoy working on a Thor movie until he had the opportunity to appear in Thor Ragnarok. It's okay, Idris, we still love you. What do you think about these strict rules actors have to follow to be a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Do you think they're way too harsh, or are they just part of the job? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section, and then click on the subscribe button for more videos from us here at The Taco. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.